Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, this would be the special transmission that focuses on Pakistan versus New Zealand. What we've seen in the first match, pretty upsetting, definitely in many ways for Pakistan cricket team. But yet again, they're still trying, and they'll definitely focus on what could have been in a better shape, what could have brought them to a better shape. But anyways, that's exactly what really happened. But there were a lot of things that actually caused this to come into this point. But anyways, if we actually look back today, it would be definitely a different stadium, and it would definitely create a better environment. Well, looking back, thinking about how the team really went all the way to New Zealand, being in quarantine, wasn't really well, things weren't really fine. Obviously, it created that impact that actually broke them into where they are right now. But anyways, we will definitely be seeing that. Not only that, we'll definitely talk about how inexperience it comes to them when it's more of a bouncy pitch. Yes, but we've always lacked that specific experience of bouncy pitch. Anyways, today would be the second T20 match against them. So it's going to be Pakistan versus New Zealand in Seddon Park. And yes, we still have more of the T20 matches coming underway. But anyways, we will talk about the batting experience, the lack of practice. Yes, the lack of practice is definitely something that has brought them to where they are right now. And yes, we lack specifically when it comes to the experience part. Obviously, it makes the team, kind of lose that confidence. But anyways, we hope that the confidence comes to them. Not only that, talking about consistency. Pakistan cricket team has always lacked that consistency that, we've been looking, whether it's batting, whether it's bowling, Come to think of it, it started with a good opening. It should have started with a good opening because openers are specifically there to open well. They want to charge, they want to take hold of, the entire situation. But not to forget that, we lacked, the most important thing was Babar Azam. Yes, Babar Azam, Imad Wasim, Fakhr Zaman, these people were not there. I mean, unfortunately, they came into the injury part. So it was a lot of burden, a lot of support was there for the team, but obviously they had kind of lost hope. And for that, Shadab Khan, obviously he tried his level best to prove himself as a good captain. But will he be able to do this again? Will he be able to take charge and bring the team? Because it was the first T20 match, and obviously doing the first T20 match, we can understand the idea that, okay, fine, they weren't doing it because of the experience, or maybe because they were not allowed to practice enough. But we'll be talking more about, now it's more of a stronger side for Shadab Khan to prove his worth. But not to forget, New Zealand's lineup. Of course, when you look at their strike rate, when you look at their performance, when they're even when they're batting, when they're focused, everything is spot on. We need hardcore practice with regards to when it comes to batting. Batting is like one of the things that actually bothers the entire team's consistency. If we had a solid opening, come to look at it into this way that, when Shadab Khan took charge, obviously it came up to a point that, we were already 5 down, Come to think of the idea that, losing 4 wickets instantaneously, and, obviously the confidence is then broken. I personally was not looking at the idea that, Pakistan cricket team would be able to pull off even something more than 120. But yet again, somehow they managed to, keep everything together, keep everything intact. But anyways, that's how it really works. I think sometimes the middle order sometimes works, brilliance. Sometimes even the tail enders are like the best that they got. But anyways, today would be a different pitch, definitely. The match starts in a bit of time. But, before that, I was still thinking that, if we still have that confidence, because knowing the fact that you've lost one match right now kind of shuffles the whole confidence of the team. But we'll definitely not lose hope. And, like I said, when it comes to New Zealand's performance, when it comes to their bowling skills, like let's talk about Jacob Duffy. Yes, Jacob Duffy, it was his debutant match, but yes, it was on his home soil, so I'm sure he had practiced enough already. We lacked the practice. Jacob Duffy, brilliant bowling from the very start, and not only that, there was this one specific catch that, if you guys remember, that, he held, it could have been a catch of the series or maybe catch of the century, but unfortunately it turned out to be not a catch. It turned out to be a 4, which I personally thought it was supposed to be a 6er. But anyways, like I said, that, they are more confident right now. We need to be more confident on our side. Will we be, ensuring our victory today? That's something we'll definitely be looking forward to, because now we know that, our bowling skills is spot on. We know where it is. We know how we can carry it. We know how it be easier for us to ball well and take wickets, because if you look at it, how we took the first wicket on their end was when it comes to Guptill, yes, when they started batting, their confidence level was obviously solid, because they knew that even though I personally think they were looking at stopping us somewhere around 120, but we managed to score 153. So when I looked at the whole situation scenario, it came up to me that they were confident, but yet again our bowling skills, we still managed to use our bowling skills to an edge. If we had scored at least 180, it would definitely would have been an interesting match. But I hope today that for instance, we get a chance to bat, we managed to do so. If we manage to bat first, we'll try, and I hope we try to keep ourselves calm and keep ourselves and our confidence to that level. Because if it comes to New Zealand, it would be very tricky. If they bat first, it would definitely be tricky. And like I said, this time it's Seddon Park, so maybe let's see how everything flows by for us. The most important thing that besides all of this, like I said, we always have the bowling edge on our side, definitely. But if we have bowling edge, it's a definite yes that New Zealand also has a bowling edge. Like I said before, that how Jacob Duffy managed to take instantaneous 3 wickets. He was on a hat trick for the this, and with regards to T20, I think it's the best debutant start for any young player, young professional, and he has a long career ahead. But not to forget, not only that, but there's overall team. With regards to the overall performance and the coordination of the team is basically what actually brings out the best of the team. And if we look at it, they were missing Taylor, they were missing Williamson, they were missing Bolt, and even Southey. So they were missing a lot of people, but yet again, they still managed to pull themselves on a stronger side. But yes, the biggest stronger side that they have is obviously their own pitches. When you have a home ground, obviously home ground gets you that solid edge over the other team. Yes, like for instance, if we talk about how Zimbabwe came to Pakistan, we definitely had an edge. We had an edge because we know, the environments and the situations and the scenarios. But when Pakistan cricket team went there, when they actually went there, looking into that, losing the entire idea of practicing. Yes, we lacked practice. We were in isolation. It was very hard. It was very tough, and it was absolutely told that So all of these situations and circumstances brought us to where we are. But anyways, to discuss more about this entire perspective, we'll definitely be having a guest right now, and we'll definitely talk and see what he has to say. So we have with us Mr. Ali. And Ali, how are you?
I'm well. Good morning, Alamdar.
Good morning. How are you yourself?
I'm well, thank you very much.
So Ali, we finished up as I was discussing. We had the first match. When we started the match, I personally thought we won't be able to pull off even 120. But lacking that opening, and obviously lacking the idea that we were missing Babar Azam, we were missing Fakhar Zaman, and obviously bouncy pitches. In my overall contrast, I think these things have played like serious issues with Pakistan. But anyways, you tell me, where do you see this second T20 match heading?
Well, I mean, considering the fact that they've, at least they've had one game, they know what to expect. They'll probably get pace and bounce again. Maybe, not the way we saw in the first match, but Pakistan would have been expecting that, right? This wasn't an alarming thing that happened. Right. And once again, Pakistan were undone by the bounce of the wicket. It's not the first time we've seen that. And it definitely won't be the last. So Pakistan have to find a way around it. The top order, yes, they lack the skill and most importantly, the experience.
Right.
Hafiz is the most experienced player in the middle order, but unfortunately, he played a rash shot. So we can criticize the Pakistanis. I mean, there's plenty to dissect, but I think we have to give New Zealand bowlers credit as well. Absolutely. I think Duffy, Ugaline found really good areas in the power play. They were hitting those hard lengths where the ball was whistling through. And just my initial reaction when I was watching, they mic'd up the elderly statesman of the New Zealand team, Martin Guptill, and he was speaking to the commentators. So they asked him about the pace and bounce. They said, "What do you think of the pace of the wicket? It looks like a nippy wicket." And he said, "Oh, actually, it's not as quick as it was against the West Indies." And I was thinking, the ball is whistling through,
Yes,
whistling
absolutely,
past.
absolutely. And
So
that's
it's
why, we, like I said, as I was discussing it initially as well, we definitely have an issue when it comes to a bouncy pitch to play, right? Even though we have, like, obviously our streamline when it comes to our ballers, they're like spot on, right? But when it comes to bouncy pitches, maybe it's because we mostly practice on pitches like in the conditions that we have in Pakistan, I guess. So we still need to have that specific support line of maybe someone, some coaches who could actually train us on a very bouncy pitch, because that would probably allow the batsman to, like you said, that the openings and the opening order needs to be that solid, because like I said initially, we were expecting like Babar Azam or Fakhar Zaman would have been like out there starting the match, right? But we started the match with two youngsters, and obviously then losing Hafiz, that's definitely a shaking point for the team itself at the very start, and seeing 4 fall of wickets in like 20 runs, it definitely breaks the the momentum of the team itself, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Pakistan did well to get to 150 thanks to Shadab and
Yes.
Imad. They orchestrated a nice little partnership. And then Fahim Ashraf's flurry at the end. I was happy for Fahim Ashraf because he's been criticized a lot for his batting. But I don't want to get into the state of pitches in Pakistan because that's a long debate. I mean, we'll be here all night, man. But it's, again, I mean, for years and years and years, Pakistan have struggled against pace and bounce. I mean, Pakistan have not won a test series in Australia, full stop. I mean, the first team to win a team from the subcontinent to win a test series in Australia was India, and that was 2 years ago. And I mean, now you saw what happened to them the other day. They were bowled out for 36.
That was definitely a major upset.
So bounce is something that teams from the subcontinent have always struggled with. And remember, Pakistan used to do well in New Zealand. Things have changed slightly now. They still do all right in white ball cricket, but they've struggled in Test cricket. When it comes to Pakistan's combination up top, look, Abdullah Shafiq is new. I don't want to go too much into his performance. There was not much to say. I'm not sure if he's a regular opener for his domestic side. But Rizwan, he opened a bit in the national T20. Again, not a regular opener, but like Sarfaraz, too frenetic at the crease.
Right.
He's moving around too much. There's too much nervous energy.
Right.
I think that's something that he needs to work on because he's one of Pakistan's most experienced players in this lineup.
Right.
Hafiz, he's got additional responsibility on his shoulders as there's no Fakhar and no Babar. Right. So they really need to step up. Now, before I think one of your questions will be or should be at some point, should Pakistan make any changes? I think rather than a change of personnel, they should change their batting lineup a little bit. Maybe drop Haider Ali to number 4, number 5, and Shadab and Hafiz could come up just to steady.
Ali, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and as soon as we take this break, we'll come back and we'll continue this conversation and see you guys after the break. And welcome back, everybody. As we were discussing Pakistan versus New Zealand's second match is going to start in a bit, but I was talking to Ali right now. Ali, once again, welcome back. And yes, so we were talking more about the entire consistency, not being able to face those bouncy pitches. So how will we manage to take over or someday take charge as a solid a solid lineup for the batsmen, for how it actually can turn out to be solid for us?
Look, Pakistan were the number 1 T20 side in the world not so long ago. So clearly Pakistan are doing something right. And or had been doing something right. And they last time they were in New Zealand, they did win. And these things, will always be there, right? Like, struggling struggling on a certain type of pitch or in certain type of conditions. That'll take years to rectify. So you won't find that type of consistency. I mean, Pakistan's not the only team that struggles away from home. So, just looking at this particular lineup, you don't have enough players with the right amount of experience or skill at the moment to deal with these conditions. But I think we should give Pakistan credit. I mean, as you said, you thought they'd be bowled out for 120. I thought they'd be bowled out for 30.
No,
the
no,
way they were
I absolutely give credit to the team for sure for the fact that you're bringing it up to 153. Like how Shadab stood confident, because obviously there was a lot of pressure on him being the captain. He had to prove himself. He had to ensure the entire team's stands tall. So I definitely give credit to Pakistan, and not only for that reason. The second reason was, everybody was in isolation, and coming out of isolation, not having moments to practice. Obviously, if you don't practice, it's more like working out. If you don't work out on a regular basis, you kind of lose that muscle memory and stuff. So I think practice, if they had faced these conditions before, because it's not only physical perspective, I think it's more on the mental side as well, because 14 days is a long time, coming up and seeing them out and still playing and practicing and trying to ensure. I think maybe the first T20 turned out to be more of them actually learning the atmosphere, the situation of, how the pitch can work for them from how I saw it.
spot on. You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's never easy being in quarantine. We've all been through it, and it's torturous. It's mental torture.
Right.
Ahmed said that not so long ago, but in a totally different context.
Right.
Yes, I don't. I mean, it's hard to criticize and blame. Yes, it was a total horror show in the first power play, but I think they'll hopefully in the second match we'll see that they've acclimated a wee bit.
Yeah.
Because again, I look at Abdullah Shafiq in his first game. Haider Ali, I think he's barely even played 5 games. He was in England and then he played against the Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, in Pakistan rather. Hafiz is in good form. He just played a bad shot.
Yeah.
So a lot to come to terms with. And New Zealand, as you said, I mean, this was their second string bowling attack, and we saw up front at least they were quality. Jacob Duffy bowled very sensibly. Yes, Pakistan may have helped them a wee bit, but it was good quality bowling. So I just think now it's time for the senior statesmen, and I include Shadab and Rizwan in this,
Right.
to step up, because they can certainly do it. Pakistan have a good solid bowling attack. Rauf might be a little bit inconsistent, yes, but he's got pace. Once he finds his rhythm, he's hard to get away. Wahab Riaz didn't have the best day out.
Yes, I know exactly. Wahab Riaz, that's exactly what I was thinking. And you just mentioned change. I personally thought, you could easily tell Wahab, because when Wahab Riaz is about to shine, you see that on his face. You see that confidence. That he's going to be out there and he's going to change the entire fate of the entire match. Initially, when we started bowling, if you remember, that when New Zealand players started playing, I could see at some point that they came in under pressure. But then we switched our bowling attack, and we took Fahim, and we switched to Fahim, and we switched to Wahab, and slowly and gradually things started changing, and obviously that's from how I saw things changing. So Wahab Riaz was probably the only person that I still think, if we talk about change, even though with regards to experience, undoubtedly his experience is definitely spot on. But like I said, when it's that confidence that he carries, you can always see Wahab Riaz's confidence, and somehow on that day, on that very match, you couldn't really see it out there, right?
Yeah, but Wahab, I wouldn't change him. I just wouldn't. Looking at his previous T20 performances of late, and I just think he comes to the fore at the right time for Pakistan.
Right.
I think he clicks when Pakistan need him the most.
True.
And again, it's a little bit difficult to criticize the bowling performance because they didn't have enough runs to play with. I mean, on a deck like that, with the pace and bounce was true, and you've got guys like Seifert, Guptill,
Absolutely.
Phillips, Sackner. That's not a joke. I mean, that's a good batting lineup, and now it'll be fortified by Kane Williamson.
Right.
So definitely have Wahab Riaz there. I wouldn't make any changes to the bowling attack. I'd be tempted to bring Mohammad Hasnain in. If
Right.
you want to make one change, if you really have to, I'd be tempted to bring Hasnain in for Rauf. But yeah, I mean, if that doesn't happen, I think it's fine. We're still in the nascent stages. Misbah's figuring out his combination.
Right.
So I think there's a lot to look forward to for this game that's going to start shortly. Let's see what Pakistan do. We should tell our viewers that Pakistan, the last time they were in New Zealand, they lost the first game.
Right.
But last two and took the series. So let's hope for a similar result.
Exactly. And like as we discussed the situations, like the COVID situations, to be specific, it was definitely you could actually look into their body language. You could understand that coming out of quarantine and having that. I still remember Inzamam ul Haq recently, and even Mushtaq Ahmed recently posted about this, that it's going to be more of a mental challenge for them, because coming out of quarantine and not really practicing would definitely bring them down or bring them low. But as discussed right now, that the pitch, they know, now they've played one game, and who knows how the match turns out today. And we're definitely looking forward for a great performance now, because now the openers know what really went wrong. I'm sure Shadab Khan is once again going to prove himself as a good captain. Even with regards to fielding, there were a few upsets from our end, to be honest. But otherwise, I think we've still improved. We've still improved in many ways, and still coming up to 153 was brilliant. But right now, the test of fate is almost underway in a bit, I guess, and it would probably be very clear to us, like you said, that last time Pakistan went to New Zealand, this is exactly what happened, and they ended up winning the series. So who knows? Maybe you're absolutely right. So you suggest that there should not be any change. In my opinion, I would not suggest changes, because now those team members know where they're bowling, where they're batting, right?
I mean, personally, like I said, I don't think I would make any changes. But you mentioned fielding. Yes, I mean, Shadab took an absolute screamer. It was superb, running over his shoulder. I think he did well as a captain, but then again, he's a stand-in captain. Again, this is where, Pakistan, just things haven't gone well from the off for Pakistan, so they're trying to adjust. But I think under the circumstances, Shadab did very well. Fahim Ashraf, he took one good catch and then he dropped a sitter, which many say.
Yeah, the second catch that he dropped was the one that could have been a fate changer for at least, because that was like the crux of the game at that very moment. If that catch was there, definitely New Zealand would have been under pressure.
They would have been under pressure, but I still think they would have won. I think I saw after the game, too many critics were reading too much into it, that if that catch had been taken,
yeah.
I mean, okay.
But yeah, that's
still favorites. Yeah. I think so. Let's see what happens today. Pakistan have no choice but to fight fire with fire. New Zealand, we all know, are fantastic at home and even away. They're a brilliant T20 side, full of skill and dynamism and controlled aggression.
Right.
They know exactly what needs to be done. So the Pakistanis, to stop them in their tracks, they're going to need to do something special. They need to call on everything they've got.
Absolutely. And to be honest, like I said, in this current scenario, I still think that the first match, they know, even from the batting lineup, even though there were a few upsets at the very start, like once they were like 4 out. But after that, I think Shadab Khan and Fahim Ashraf and all of them taking charge means that if our middle order or our tailenders can actually do what they did. Even Shaheen Shafidi actually came up with the sixer. So if our team can take a stand as a team from the very start, do not get under pressure, I think that would probably be one of the actual ways to go by to expediting a victory that we're looking forward for today.
Look, I mean, absolutely, but we also have to remember something else, Alamdar. I mean, you're not exactly spoiled for choice. Right. There's no Fakhar Zaman,
right.
And you've ended up having Abdullah Shafiq, who's new, and right. Rizwan, a regular opener. It just goes to show that you don't have Gordon Greenwich or Matthew Hayden or Sehwag knocking on the door, right?
Right.
So when people have a go at Fakhar Zaman, I just think to myself, I mean, who else do you have? Your next option after this is Imam ul Haq, who's a fine one-day batsman and
right.
can develop.
He's also missing, absolutely.
No, but I mean, even it's not that he's missing Alamdar. He's there, but again, he would be, they might go with him now, and Imam is not the finished article in T20 cricket. He'll be the first to admit that. He's a much better 50-over player, and he can develop into a test batsman. My point is, you're not spoiled for choice. You don't have the power that you need in T20 cricket or the innovation. Like you don't have a Maxwell or KL Rahul or someone like that, or even a Hardik Pandya. So I think Pakistan need to look for young players who understand or are up to the challenge of the rigors of the modern game.
Yeah.
But that we can perhaps do after the series, but you need to solve these core issues first, right? Because then
Absolutely.
you and I would be having these discussions that Pakistan look out of their depth, especially when they go abroad. I mean, there's a reason for it.
Obviously, it's a change of environment, all the conditions and everything. We've, totally discussed all of them. But, for instance, if you talk about Abdullah Shafiq and Haider Ali, if they turn out to be, because when you don't have a choice and, these newcomers are here, they're here for a reason, they're here to open. If they manage to keep that stability of the team, I think it can do wonders for them. Maybe in the long run, they turn out to be, amazing batsmen.
Yeah, I mean, you need to give them a shot, right? You need to give them a long, extended run. And Haider Ali, again, I worry for aggressive players in Pakistan.
Right.
Because if you're an aggressive player,
but
will make mistakes.
Okay.
So you need to give young players leeway.
Right.
We don't give players leeway.
Right. But Ali, thank you very much for your analysis over the match. I think we're almost there for the match to begin. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again after the match. Good luck to both the teams. Bye-bye.